Flagship prices have gone through the roof. We are seeing prices of almost 90,000 rupees for phones with plastic backs, over a lakh for phones with certain caveats. So does this mean that the only way to get a flagship user experience is to pay that much money? The answer is not really. Another thing that happens when these phones launch is the older flagships, the ones from last year, they do happen to end up at their best prices at the moment. So today in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 9 flagships from 2019 that happen to offer the best value at the moment in 2020. Hey guys, Ash here from C4eTech, and if you do end up liking what you see in this video, please subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. So first, let's start with the Galaxy S10 Plus. Given the current prices of Samsung flagships, the S10 Plus, it looks like a steal in the mid 50Ks. It's still got that powerful Exynos 9820. Now I know a lot of people do not like Exynos processors, but the 9820, it was and it still is quite good. The optics, they still measure up. The f1.5 aperture lens, it happens to be a notch above even some current gen flagships. There's excellent bokeh, the night pictures, they come out really good. Samsung also promises 3 years of updates. So it's almost as good as getting a different brand flagship at this point. From a brand that provides say 2 years of updates, which is the norm because the S10 Plus at this point, it has a little under 2 years left in it. On the con side of things though, the punch hole, when you pick it up, it does indeed look a lot bigger. I mean, in a year-ish, we've come quite a ways with punch holes and the refresh rate. Now here's something for you guys to think about. I'm actually using the Galaxy S10 as my primary now. I'm planning to do a second review with it because the S10 is actually a better deal than even the S10 Plus. It is 8,000 rupees cheaper. So when I started to use the S10, first, I've been spending a lot of time with phones that have 90 Hz refreshed, 120 Hz, and even 144 Hz. So initially, I did miss that high refresh rate. But then I started to appreciate the resolution. So the phone that I moved from, that was the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. Now that phone also had Quad HD Plus, but unlike something like say the Oneplus 8 Pro with the Galaxy S20 Ultra or the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, you had to choose between resolution or refresh rate. So it was either running 120 Hz at Full HD Plus or Quad HD Plus at 60 Hz, and generally I chose the higher refresh rate. For a while now, I've been running my Samsung flagships at Full HD Plus. So given the smaller form factor, the smaller size display of the S10, that Quad HD Plus, it really looked very crispy. I started to appreciate that extra crispiness. So if you are a resolution guy, then the new generation Samsung flagships, they aren't really giving you anything over the S10 or the S10 Plus. And that makes the S10 and S10 Plus amazing value for their current prices. Okay, we've seen enough about Samsung, so it's time for us to move from Samsung to a Chinese brand. Yes, it's Redmi. I'm sure a lot of you guys would have expected this phone on the list. The K20 Pro. Now this phone hasn't gotten any major price cuts, at least compared to what the S10 and the S10 Plus have gotten. But at 23,800, it is a steal. An all-glass build, a pop-up camera with a stylish LED. And you know what that means, right? We get an uninterrupted all-screen AMOLED panel, which you can't even find these days, even if you're willing to pay over a lakh. And the optics, they are really good. The K20 Pro can back up its good looks with solid optics and specs, of course. It's great on the battery front too, with a 4000 mAh solid battery. There's not really a lot you can crib about with the K20 Pro. I mean, MIUI might not be everybody's cup of tea, and Redmi is yet to introduce a successor to it in India. That's pretty much the biggest negatives you can say about this phone. So yeah, it's 2020 and the K20 Pro, it is still a good deal. And you know how the old saying goes, where there is a Redmi, there's gotta be a Realme. So enter the Realme X2 Pro. Just like the Redmi K20 Pro, this one has a beautiful AMOLED display too. And while this is not an all-screen panel, it has a notch. The X2 Pro's display, it does have a trick up its sleeve. It refreshes at 90 Hz, making it smoother than the Redmi K20 Pro's display, especially with games that actually support high refresh rates. The experience here, it was really good. The 4000 mAh battery also helps you keep gaming for quite a while. Now, if you do end up running out of juice at any point, Realme's actually gone ahead and included an insane 50-watt charger, and that lets you go from 0 to 100 in just a little over half an hour. And remember, even with a 1 lakh plus phone, you go from 0 to 50 in about half an hour. You know which phone I'm talking about, right? Now, with this phone, it costs less than 1/3 of that at 29,000 rupees, and it can charge twice as fast. We again have good optics. The battery is 4000 mAh as I mentioned earlier, and the charging speed's of course faster. By the way, did I tell you the chip inside? It's also marginally better than what we find on the K20 Pro or even Samsung's Galaxy S10 series for that matter, because this one is the Snapdragon 855 Plus. Now, talking about the Snapdragon 855 Plus, let's circle back to Samsung. Samsung does not have any phone with the 855 Plus or the 865 in India. The strongest Qualcomm Snapdragon toting phone that they have is the Galaxy S10 Lite. It has the Snapdragon 855. It has a good old 6.7-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED panel. The optics, they're actually pretty good. It shares a lot of its feature set with the flagship S10 lineup. The display resolution, like I said, is Full HD Plus, but that doesn't mean it isn't high quality. It's very bright, it's quite rich, it's punchy. 128 gigs of fast storage. There's even a 512 gig option available, a very high capacity battery, and note this, it gets faster charging than even the S10 series. The S10 Lite, it is a worthy option to consider. So that's the S option. So let's now take a look at the Note option. And no, you don't have to spend over a lakh for this S Pen experience, because the Note 10 Lite, it's available at less than 40,000 rupees. Technically, this, like the Galaxy S10 Lite, it should not actually be on this list since it was announced 3 days into 2020. But hey, it's just 3 days, so I'm gonna love it since the specs are pretty 2019. Actually, the specs are pretty 2018. It's got the even older Exynos 9810 chip. It's a generation older than what we saw on the S10 series earlier in this video, but it is still a competent chip. And yes, including a phone with a chip as old as the 9810 is me stretching the definition of a flagship experience here. But the S Pen, there's just nothing out there to rival that experience. And on the Note 10 Lite, the experience, that's not compromised. The S Pen experience is not. So you get most of the same S Pen features as you'd find on the latest flagship Samsung phones. And that display, the AMOLED panel, once again, it's pretty good. No fancy refresh rates here, but it's still a top quality panel. And the cameras are competent too. It's worth noting that the back, just like with the S10 Lite, it's glass-tick. But then again, if people are okay paying over 80,000 rupees for glass-tick, at under 40k, the Note 10 Lite is definitely one worth considering. Now guys, I've recommended 4 Samsung phones here, and if you're a little confused and if you're looking to choose between these 4, each phone has its own pros, they have their own cons. But my simple answer here, my simple guidance for you, what is it that, how I look at this is, if you want the best experience possible, I'd say go with the S10 Plus. If you want the sleekest form factor, if you like smaller phones, then the S10 it is. The Note 10 Lite, it has the weakest chip amongst the 4, but it has that S Pen. So if the Note experience is of utmost importance to you, then go with the Note 10 Lite. The S10 Lite, it is the best bang for your buck. It doesn't feel quite as premium as the S10 series, but if you want a huge screen and are okay with plastic, glass-tick, if you're okay with glass-tick, then save yourself a few bucks and pick one up. So with that said and done, it's time for me to tell you guys a little story. Drop down from 865 to 855 Plus, lose a little bit on battery, gain a little bit on weight, gain 2 gigs of RAM, a telephoto shooter, and all this ends up saving you 7,000 rupees. This is the story of the Oneplus 7T. The OnePlus 70, thanks to the minimal gains that the OnePlus 8 has brought to the table, remains a very solid option for the price. Especially given how snappy OnePlus's Oxygen OS is, it happens to offer one of the best experiences on the Android side of things. Now, if you don't mind paying that 7,000 rupees though, you still don't have to pick up the OnePlus 8 because you can opt for last year's OnePlus 7 Pro. This Pro version, it's the better looking phone, it has improved optics, a higher resolution display. Yes, the chip is a tad slower, but you're not gonna really notice it because like I said, Oxygen OS, it offers a great user experience. It's arguably the best on the Android side of things. And that is what I'm going to use as a segue to the other side, the Apple side of things. The iPhone 11 at 60,000 rupees might seem like a great deal given what the iPhones are currently priced at. But if you want an Apple flagship, sadly, I'm going to ask you to wait. Hang on for just a little while. The iPhone 12 series is just right around the corner. And you know what comes with every new flagship. Like I said at the start of the video, price cuts on the last gen flagships. So this is like the worst time, the absolute worst time to get an iPhone 11. So wait a little bit and pick up an iPhone 11 if iOS is your OS of choice once the iPhone 12 series launches. Given Apple supports phones for almost 5 years, software is most definitely not going to be an issue here. And as for hardware, the A13 Bionic is arguably one of the best mobile SoCs around today. And the optics also happen to be exceptional. Now the iPhone SE, it does share some similarities with the 11, like the chip inside, the glass back, the metal build, but the battery life is absolutely horrendous. It just sucks, which is why I'm not including it here. Now before we wrap, a couple of honorable mentions. The ROG Phone 2 and the Asus 6Z, they both have most definitely earned their spots on this list. The ROG Phone 2 was in fact our phone of the year 2019, but sadly they aren't in stock and it doesn't seem like Asus intends to bring them back. Hence, they're just honorable mentions instead of recommendations. So these are the 2019 flagships that you should be considering in 2020. So what do you guys think of my list? Do you think there is any other phone worth considering in 2020 once that launched in 2019? Leave a comment down below and let me know. And guys, share this video if you think it's worth it. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.